Hello guys, welcome once again to another technology moment, and this time we're gonna see and review our experience after several months using these NVRs, network video recorders, relatively recent models from the TP-Link brand in its version 1 of the hardware. This in response to the growing demand for surveillance systems based on IP technology and IP cameras that also support ONVIF protocols. We're talking about the VIGI NVR 4032H with a capacity of 32 digital channels, which as usual for the brand will only be available in some regions of the world, while others will have some with other standards and minor differences. Aside from what to expect from this device in general, of course, we're gonna share with you in this video. First, what you get in the box, of course, the hard drives that are recommended for using these units. Then we're gonna watch the installation, how good the quality is, and availability. Then we're gonna see how we use the system not only with TP-Link cameras, but also with other brands. And probably the most important aspect, how you can monitor this system either from home or via the network and access events captured by the cameras, which is the true essence of any video surveillance system. We will finish as usual with our conclusions, what we liked the most and what we liked the least about these TP-Link NVRs. As we have seen in the past, this is not a short video, and we suggest that if you want to get the most out of it, you watch it at a time when you have both the time and the disposition to listen to everything that we have to tell you about these TP-Link devices. We have seen similar systems like this one before in our channel, like the Onwote Camera System, which continues to perform extraordinarily well, offering incredible image quality and equally outstanding reliability, both for quick access and viewing the cameras from anywhere in the world, as well as for reviewing recordings and events from the app. We have also analyzed the systems that are still very popular on our channel, and we invite you to check our content, where you will surely find it very helpful for many of your projects. Okay, so without further ado, what we get in the box when we purchase one of these systems, which by the way looks massive at first glance, we'll soon understand why, is the instruction manual, the box with all the accessories needed, not only for connecting the internal hard drives, of which it has the capacity of 4 full-sized hard drives, but also the connectors for interaction with alarms and external systems. Let's take a look at everything on top of the table to better understand it. Okay, so 2 ports for the mouse, keyboard, or peripherals on the front, interconnection interface with other systems, analog audio input and output, 2 gigabit Ethernet network ports, serial port, monitor interface in VGA, D-sub, and HDMI, and a faster USB port for either peripherals or external hard drive for backups. We will see the system from the inside in a few moments and understand the reason for its size. It has a very good ventilation, something very important when installing all the discs that it accepts. We found it to be also very silent in terms of heat dissipation. Here is where we will install the supports for the brackets and the rack installation, something that I still do not understand why they don't also include them as an option on the back, since I always end up mounting these systems rotated front to back for purely practical and connection convenience. As always, something that is very important and that many people often overlook is not forgetting to properly ground the system to protect it from electrical shocks. Very important in terms of camera systems. As for hard drives, the recommendation will always be to use hard drives specifically designed for surveillance systems. Although we are conducting an experiment using traditional hard drives, one of which has been installed for 4 years in a 24/7 system, we will be telling you about it in the future. And our recommendation has always been Western Digital in their purple model. And until now, we had never had any problems in a very good number of systems that we have used them. And as we have always said, the probability of receiving a defective model will always be present. And as a matter of fact, this one turned out to be one of those occasions when a couple of days after installing it failed and we were forced to return it to Amazon. As we have always said, we have never had any problems with these returns to Amazon. And by simple logic, we opted for our second recommended brand when ordering its replacement, which is a Seagate in their Skyhawk model. We ended replacing it 15 days later, and in the meantime we used a plain and simple normal hard drive. As you can see right here, this Seagate is much better packaged and protected than the Western Digital, something to note. Today, almost 3 months later, no problems whatsoever. We then decided to add to our 4-year experiment by using, or rather leaving, this other hard drive to record some of the less important cameras 24 hours a day. In time, we'll see what effect it has had or whether or not these hard drives were actually specifically designed for normal computers. All the brands argue that the disk's characteristics to be approved for surveillance systems simply lie in greater heat resistance and efficiency, precisely because they do not produce as much heat and longer write cycles are needed. We'll end up our first experiment in about a year after having used a couple for almost 5. The installation was really simple. The only step that might be confusing for some with little experience or who have never installed camera systems before, and this is the first time doing so, would be the selection, distribution, configuration, and above all, the reason for the 2 independent networks. Our recommendation for IP camera systems is that the camera networks be on a separate and congested network that is physically separated from your main network. As always, we suggest pre-configuring your system on top of our desktop to ensure everything is working correctly. Unfortunately, our disk didn't fail soon enough, and right after we put it to work, it failed. We connected a mouse, screen, and if you want a keyboard, which can be very useful for setting or entering passwords. We connected it to our main network through our port number 1. We turned on our NVR and started the setup process. The first few steps are extremely intuitive and will simply involve following the on-screen instructions. Obviously, don't forget, or even better, write down the details, specifically the password resetting options. We set the unlock pattern. This will be solely for the operator in front of the monitor who won't have full administrator privileges. And in the final step, well, we left it in the default mode to be able to quickly access the cameras that will be on the same network, temporarily at least. We only assigned a fixed IP address to that network port number 1. We can always modify these settings later. For this scheme, which we see in this graphic, it would be ideal to configure it so that one of the ports or networks has a different network segment than the main network. That is something that you will do later on when sitting in front of the system. This is particularly useful when there are a large number of clients and you do not want excessive traffic on it. Going back to the configuration steps, we simply finished with the access options through the TP-Link Cloud, which is recommended so you can have remote access immediately after finishing. At this point, any camera, whether TP-Link or other brand, when you connect it to a switch that provides, of course, power over Ethernet or has its own power adapter, will immediately be accepted into our system as soon as we click Add. Repeat the process for each one of the cameras. The system will configure them channel by channel in consecutive order, and that order, of course, can be changed later. By the way, in the comments of this video, we'll leave the links to the power over Ethernet switch that we recommend to be used with these cameras. You can even connect several cameras to the same port using these small devices also referenced and listed in the comments. Okay, about using the system not only with TP-Link cameras but also with other brands. While this NVR allows connectivity to any device that supports the ONVIF standard, there are some features geared toward devices from the same brand, such as event identification and marking such events either on the timeline or as events or snapshots on the respective camera page from the app. Very interesting. It is for this main simple reason, in addition of course to its extraordinary image quality, that we recommend using IP cameras from the same brand, TP-Link. Similar observations we have made for other systems. Use the same brand for the NVR as for the cameras. We tested it with this one, this one, this one, and this one. And with all of them, we got excellent recording results. However, when it comes to searching for an event, movement, or whatever, it will be more difficult, as it will not tell the system that there has been an event. The same goes for alerts. By the way, we did not use the highest resolution TP-Link cameras in this deployment, which is a considerable improvement over these test images that you are seeing right here, since we would go from 2 to 4 megapixels, which is also supported by this NVR, by the way. Currently, I have 20 cameras, and I plan to install 3 more in the near future. The system works perfectly with a main hard drive and the hard drive that I mentioned. We'll be testing it to see how long it lasts. Yes, it is very likely we'll see that in the results in a few years, but as I mentioned, we started these tests several years ago on this Unified Dream Machine Pro, which has been recording 24 hours a day for the past 4 years on the same pretty normal hard drive. Interesting to note right here at this point is how scalable these NVRs are. Now, as we said at the beginning of the video, as we have always argued, the most relevant aspect apart from the reliability, of course, of a camera system consists of 2 fundamental criteria. First, how easy it is at any given moment to go and start watching a live camera feed from your system. That is, how long it takes for you to be able to watch your live camera feed from anywhere in the world. And second, how easy it is to find a particular event and document it either on our personal computer or on our mobile device. So for both aspects, we quite like this unit. On a completely subjective scale from 1 to 10, we gave it an 8 for live monitoring. That is, for example, taking our cell phone and viewing our cameras from very average mobile connection, which takes about 5 seconds. But it does take us to individual camera views, at least in the app. There is the option to open a multi-screen view, but you have to create it, and it's not very intuitive for inexperienced users. In other words, you need to spend time exploring all the app's possibilities, while other brands' apps accessing global views are easier to use and much more intuitive. On the other hand, on the computer, by installing the VIGI Security Manager desktop application and logging in with your cloud account, comparing it to the mobile app, the login time, obviously having previously configured it, will be 15 seconds on average. This isn't bad considering that it is loading a fairly robust and multi-purpose program. We also gave this one 8 stars. But then you might wonder, what went wrong with both programs if we gave them 8 stars and not 10? Well, more than the program itself, the camera's response speed could be quite better. And on the other hand, this message was constant on several occasions, even when it hadn't been requested, losing connectivity with the remote servers. Sometimes they would just come back to life after a few moments, something that isn't acceptable in certain security systems where important events need to be monitored. It is very fair to say that these are things that will surely improve over time due to the relatively short lifespan these devices have had so far. Reviewing recordings and scrolling through the timelines to find events or situations that warrant searching security camera recordings were seamless on both the app and the system, at least while there was an effective connection to the NVR. In the desktop program, that interaction with the live line is not very intuitive. That is something that TP-Link must invest time in. Some minor bugs should also be worth checking out, at least on the desktop version when switching back and forth between views, as the annoying unstable network warning keeps popping up. Downloading clips and reviewing recordings was a clean and quick task. The video format was widely supported. It doesn't matter which camera sent the feed. Ultimately, it's the NVR that encodes it. The NVR also allows us to download in highly compatible formats. The downside is that it won't allow, or we haven't found a way, to download clips longer than 5 minutes. If the camera is not a TP-Link VIGI, finding events can be quite difficult because it doesn't send a notification that an event has occurred, at least in its communication protocol. Notifications for captured events by the camera worked quite well and are customizable enough. Again, we must remember that this is for fully compatible TP-Link cameras. Well, as for our conclusions regarding the experience we had with this TP-Link NVR, I would say it is outstanding, given that it is the first version of these devices from the brand, and they do not have the experience of others in these instances. Much more budget should be dedicated to improving the faults that detected to date, expanding compatibility to other brands, improving system stability, extending the time to export events, but most importantly of all, making their interfaces much more user-friendly for inexperienced users so that anyone would want to have a TP-Link DVR. All this, of course, taking into account that these are devices that are implemented with the sole objective and purpose of providing quick access to the system and rapid documentation of the captured event. Otherwise, encountering situations like this could only generate a feeling of frustration in every user once they need to access an event. In the short time that we have had this system, there has been an interest in updating the most important aspects through firmware updates, and that is very important. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching this video and above all taking the time to listen to what we had to say. We hope that this video has been as informative as it was intended, as we value the time you spent watching it. Do not forget that your immense support to be able to continue generating all this content for you. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.